Hello there, I'm Thomas Blay. I run the Points of Performance podcast, and today I'm joined by Jenna Platt.
Hi, so my name is Jenna Platt. I'm a dual qualified nurse. So I am mental health trained and general adult trained. I qualified 2009 as a general nurse, and then I went to Edinburgh to do some mental health training. So I qualified then in 2011. My background is care of the elderly, it's end of life care. That's a massive passion of mine to improve, within care homes and help with management issues as well, predominantly. And really, I guess just like the basics are really, really important to me. The tactile, the touching, the holding, the making sure someone feels important, so that's kind of me, like that. My passion is just making sure that all those basics are done, because then we can build on those foundations then.
Lovely. I mean, it sounds like you're a very, very caring, kind person, which is always, like, for me, one of the most important things about people. If I know that someone's caring and passionate, then it says a lot to me about somebody's personality. So cool. So it's definitely something you need as a nurse, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think to be honest, I've answered this question with somebody yesterday. It kind of depends where you're looking at, because I would describe myself as empath alpha female. So I'm super, super emotional, but I'm also quite sassy as well. Yeah, so if it is that you are a resident, a relative, I can listen to you, I can take on board everything you're saying. I want to care for especially the people that don't have a voice. That's really, really important for me. However, if it is that you're maybe a member of staff who maybe isn't doing the job, I would be quite firm. And I think I've got a lot of experience where I've maybe clashed horns with some people because I don't feel that they are doing everything that's in the best interest of the individual. So I'd like to think I'm caring overall, but it would depend on how you look at that, whether it's from the individual's point of view, the staff members, or it is from the resident's point of view, really.
Yeah, well, you need a standard from your staff, and that's just caring for your patients, isn't it? Really?
Yeah, bigger picture.
Yeah. So today we're going to talk about health, mental health, the lockdown, how it's affecting people, young, old, and everything in between, and a couple of other subjects as well. So as a nurse, as a healthcare professional, how has this lockdown affected you and your work?
Yeah, well, I've got my own business, and my 2020 should have been me taking some time off from being responsible for other people. I should have been going around India, I should have been traveling. I was working on meeting new people and upskilling myself for kind of marketing, I guess, for the business. That was what I wanted to do, because I love meeting people. I'm not religious, but I love finding out about your history, your background, your stories, your traditions. So for me, this was something like really, really important, because from a young age, I'd had quite a lot of responsibility. So I'd started my nurse training at 19. So 2020 was about me just taking a step back, and I guess refilling that. In my head, it's like, if you think about like a water butt of energy, like I just wanted to like really just replenish myself and look after myself. So I went away. There was talks in the news about COVID, but I went anyway, because I don't really listen to the news. I don't watch the news. And then we got told that the airports were going to be closed. So my husband was like, yeah, you need to come back now. So my March, April, May, June, July. So my 5-month trip was like 3 weeks. So I came back, and then I was actually really quite unwell. So because of COVID, and everyone wasn't really sure what was happening, it was all panic and hysteria, and I hadn't been watching the news, so I was completely behind. I didn't go to the hospital because I felt like there was more priority. I was really quite unwell. So then when I was well enough, and after like the 2 weeks staying at home and kind of isolating, I came back into work, and yeah, the business had dropped on its arse, to be honest. It had gone from over 100 courses a month to 8, why people kind of worked out what was happening. So we really had to adapt to how we were going to work and what this year was going to look like.
Wow. Yeah. And I think it's a similar story for everybody. Like a few months into the year, everybody's business just went on its ass, really. You know, we closed the gym and carried on. We gave all of our equipment out and do online classes. We do 6 online classes a day. We do nutrition chats. We do challenges. We do all that sort of stuff to try and interact with our members as much as possible and keep them fit and healthy and keep them going mentally. And luckily, we've got such a great membership. Like, you know, we've got we've lost a fair few members, but we've kept a vast majority of them. I think we've kept about 75% of them. Yeah, we just got to keep them going. And now we're in a 3rd lockdown, and they've still stuck with us. So we're very, very lucky. But I know, like, one of my friends' gyms, they had 150 members, and then after the first lockdown, we were down to 30, which is just destroyed them. It's just destroyed them.
Yeah, and I do not like the gym. I'm not going to lie. What I like is I like it once I've been to the gym and I'm like, oh yeah, I did it. That's what I like. Yeah. I wish I could be one of these like yoga posy, Gymshark legging wearing, you know.
I think that's like, carry on, but we'll get to that.
Like, they seem to enjoy it. Like, I wish I could be that person, but I'm not at all. But the gym that I go to, so they do HIIT training, and my session was at 6:15. My alarm would go off at 5:30. My shoes and my trainers, and leggings would be like set out the day before. I'd roll out of bed, probably wouldn't brush my teeth, wouldn't brush my hair, get to the gym 3 minutes late. But it gave me a sense of achievement. It really helped my mood. I was much happier with my body at that time. And I didn't realize at that time how much I took that for granted. And I say I didn't like going to the gym. Actually, I did, and I miss it a lot.
Yeah, and miss the benefits. It does set you up for your day. Like, and the mind and the body are the same thing. And the healthier you are, the happier, the more mentally sound you are.
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things that I really liked about the gym in my area was there was all different people, and, you know, we all had our own goals. You know, there was none of this, what I think sometimes people are intimidated about going in the gym. Like, no one was like looking at each other because we're all struggling just as much. Like, we're all trying to lift the weights, and not like we're struggling.
And I think that's a big misconception, just like you mentioned earlier, like the Gymshark Insta chick with the big ass and the fake boobs and stuff. Like, that's just not real. Like, that's just some chick with 50,000 followers on Instagram. Like, the people who come to our gym, they're just people, teachers, accountants, you know, mainly like from around 35 to 50 years old, mums and dads who just want to stay fit and look good naked, and they're healthy and they live longer, happier lives. Like, that's what our gym is all about. So I just think that, like, you know, the gym's taken a bit of flack from people, you know, places like the BBC. They've been like, oh, people don't need gyms anymore. People are happier training at home, which is absolute bollocks. It couldn't be further from the truth. And I think that the gym, I'm not saying that like you have to go to the gym to be healthy, but the gym is a very, very positive place for many, many people. And as we've seen throughout this sort of situation, this coronavirus lockdown, having a good level of health is very, very valuable. And the people who don't have it are a hell of a lot more worried than the people who are healthy.
Yeah, and I think what you said then about the gym and, you know, doing it at home, for me, there's no accountability. You know, I haven't got someone saying, Jenny didn't turn up on Sunday again. And I need that, because I don't know if you listen to Mel Robbins, but she talks about we don't have anyone to parent ourselves. So like as adults, we don't have someone say, pick up your rubbish and put your washing in. Like, we have to think about that ourselves. And I think that's that's what I miss, the accountability of, yeah, I'm going to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, with the health benefits, one thing I've always struggled with whether it be the NHS or the private sector is the short-sightedness, like the quick wins, the easy wins. And it's not been a, right, okay, so we've got this group of people that are in the obese category. How can we help them to get to a healthier weight? And if it was that we could help them with like the gyms and things like that, then that would help the NHS in the long run. And
Yeah.
I think that having this negative view and, you know, why would people want to go to the gym? That's part of saving the NHS, is it not? Like that's
Yeah.
the long term, because then if we become less unwell, we then don't need treatment.
Yeah. Obesity, heart disease, you know, all of these things can be prevented. They are preventable things. And going to the gym, it's part of a healthy lifestyle. Lowering your body fat, increasing your muscle mass, it's a positive thing for everyone and anyone. However you do it, whether you do it going running yourself, you do lunges in your back garden, or you go to a gym and do it, and you get more guidance and, you know, accountability. And I think if that was pushed more, like I'd only see it as a positive thing. It's because it's a positive thing for our businesses as well. And for me, I knew that when I started working in the gym, so I'm a level 3 CrossFit coach. I've spent a lot of money and a lot of time educating myself. Like, I knew that I wasn't going to earn mega bucks, but what I really wanted to do was help people. Very similar to you, really. Like, I just wanted to help people in whatever way it was, whether they wanted to get stronger, leaner, fitter, they didn't want to die early, whatever it was. And I've helped, you know, hundreds of people like that so far in the past 5-6 years. I'm not in it to make money. I'm here to help people. And if we would get just a bit of positivity from the media, from the government, to push people towards gyms, it could only be a good thing for the NHS and for the country. Because look at us, you just go around Tesco, everybody's in absolute clip. And if any people don't know what it means, they are in a bad state. They are
I was going to ask for a
overweight.
translation.
Sorry, they are in a bad state. They are overweight, weak, tired, fatigued, and you know, you've got to look at the things that come with that. You've got to look at the negative effects of that body type. How do you feel about that, Jenny? Would you agree with that? Like, is it something you see?
Yeah. No, yeah, I absolutely completely agree. And for me personally, you know, I've put on, so my weight has fluctuated quite a lot throughout lockdown, really. I was so active. So I was going to the gym quite a lot, and I was going yoga in the evenings, and I've got a dog who, you know, I was walking twice a day, but I was always busy. I was like in front of a classroom talking. Even then I'd be walking around. And I said, like, as silly as it is, but we bought some tea and coffee canisters the other day online, whereas normally you'd go to a shop, you'd walk to your car, you'd be picking things, like all these movements, that like little movements. And so when we came out of the first lockdown, I had gone up a dress size, and I got some stretchy pants, some stretchy jeggings. And I said to Rob, like, I'm not buying another pair, because if I get comfy in these, like, the only way is up. So yeah, my body weight kind of fluctuated throughout, and I've been quite unhappy about it, really. But there's like a block of, I can't seem to like get over that block, that mental block of get out of the funk, get out of this fatigue. Every time there's a lockdown announcement, I call it my lockdowner. I get a can of cider, I order a kebab, and I drag my knuckles around the place because I am miserable. And yeah, as much as I'm wanting to do all these things, and I know that I'm not happy, it's very difficult for me, who is extremely motivated and resilient, to get out of that cycle. So yeah, that's been my personal experience right now. And although I talked a lot about weight, it's, yes, I put weight on, but it's the self-esteem as well. It's you know, how I feel about myself, and then how that impacts mental health. So yeah, I would definitely agree that there does seem to be a negative press right now, which is odd to say the least, because we've had conversations in the news about eat your 5 vegetables a day, and I think it's 7 now. How much exercise you should get, and that gym memberships were actually on prescription at some point, and it's like we forgot that. It's like we forgot the basics, and that's why I probably said at the beginning of the intro about yeah, I'm not one of these ventilator nurses who have done an amazing job, and I don't take that away from them. I am like foundation, where I'm like, let's get the basics right and then we can build on it. And I feel like the book has kind of like just been thrown out the window,
Yeah.
and we forgot these things.
If we forgot that prevention is better than cure,
Yeah,
would you say?
yeah,
And
exactly.
I'd rather be at the point where I'm like, I'm going to lose 5k, 10k, 20k, than I'm in shit state. My heart's exploding out my chest. My arteries are completely clogged full of crap. Or like, and even if that hasn't happened yet, I can't move as well. I can't play with my kids because I get too tired. I can't be asked. My libido's in the gutter. I can't see my own dick. I'm unhappy. Like, we need to get rid of this obesity normality. I feel like it's. I know that's very, very harsh thing to say, but it's a normal thing. That gut's a normal gut. It's just accepted, and it's
And
dangerous.
that's not about body shaming. That's,
It's nothing to
you
do with
know,
body shaming. And like, people come in all shapes and sizes. People are tall, small, wide, whatever, long arms, short arms, whatever it is. You get all sorts of people in here. But health is undeniable.
yeah.
And I think that if you've got a certain amount of body fat and you've got a minimal amount of muscle mass, I don't need any scientific studies, even though there are hundreds of them, to tell me that you're in a bad shape, and you're only going to hit like really, really severe health markers at some point in your life.
Yeah, and I think that one of my superpowers in so when I do a training session, I will. That's one of the questions that I ask, and one of my superpowers is having uncomfortable conversations. And that's probably why care of the elderly and end of life care has meant so much to me, because we don't have these conversations. There's an elephant in the room. Nobody wants to talk about it. And I always think that the worst time to have that conversation is at 3 o'clock in the morning after the event. Like, we need to have it earlier. It's uncomfortable, but we need to have it. And I think that that's also been something that I've been attacked for a lot, where it's almost like, oh, I can't believe she said that. Like, I can't believe she just said that. But it is an elephant in the room, where we have got, this health crisis where, we're driving through for coffee. We're not even walking to coffee anymore. And I know lockdown and we can't and things, but it's too easy, it's too accessible. And like I said, when I'm having a lockdown, I grab a kebab, because I go back to like something that's
Yeah.
comforting.
And think, Jenny, you're somebody who attends the gym regularly. You've got an active job. You're walking around. You're physical with people. You've got a dog that you walk. Now think, and you're in your mid-30s. Now think, there are people who don't do any of those things, and the life has become much more easier. And when I say easy, I mean it's more convenient. There's less movement involved now. Like, it's people are only going to get worse. And I've heard a lot, like, and this is my own opinion as well, is that next winter it's going to be even worse, because people are going to be in a much, much worse state. They're going to be fatter, weaker, and also mentally more drained, fatigued.
Yeah, and I've, like I say, so I've put weight on, but I've always kind of like managed to be one dress size regardless of like what my weight
Yeah,
is.
like you've been on a big holiday, you've been to America for
Yeah,
3 weeks, and you come home. That sort
yeah,
of in and out. Yeah.
and but I have always said that if there was a point where I'd put on, say, 5 stone, I honestly don't know if I could lose that. I haven't had this experience, but I believe that I would just put more weight on, because I would feel that would be too much of a hurdle to like come across. So I
Do you
think,
feel like you wouldn't have the self-confidence to attempt it?
yeah, because it would be like, oh, that's hard. Like, and also people, especially like with notifications, get on your phone, get on your Twitter, like everyone's like commenting super, super fast. And I think people just want instant results. And that 5 stone would take quite a while. I'm making this up now, but I would find
no,
it very
difficult. It would take a very, very long time, because it doesn't come on that quick.
Yeah. And my point being that if I'm saying that and I'm super honest about I would find it difficult, then that is going to be the reality for some people. Like some people are going to put on lots of weight that they're really going to struggle to get motivated.
Especially when life is still very sedentary. And it's not looking like it's getting, we're probably still being very optimistic 7-8 weeks from gyms opening, April, May, maybe that's really optimistic. And who's going to have, how hard is it to go to the gym? Like I've heard this as a trainer loads of times, I'm going to get fit before I come to the gym. Like how hard is it to like, oh God, I'm still fat, I'm still weak, I'm still survive 5 minutes on the treadmill and I die, so I can't go to the gym. I just don't feel confident enough to go yet.
Oh, I'm dreading it, because even so one of the dogs walks is like slight incline. I can't even be generous and say a hill. It's not. But I'm like, oh, when I go back to like ball slams and wall squats and what, I don't even know what they're called, but like I'm going to really struggle. But I think the thing that's kind of making me realize is that everyone's going to everyone's going to be at the same level, where we're all have going to be in this funk. So I think if people can be accepting of that everyone's going to struggle now, we're all going to have to like reset the levels that we were at before, and get to where we were, and use that as a motivation rather than something to hold us back.
One thing I've been thinking about is as a downside of this lockdown and this situation is people's loss of respect for themselves. And it's probably what I'd define what we just talked about. Like for you, like you saying like, oh, if I'd put 5 stone on, you'd have lost respect for yourself and the self-esteem, obviously, but you're like, I'm not worth that anymore. I'm not worth the effort. And I think that if people can just try and hold on to that, they are very important. You're important to your kids, your parents, your brothers, your sisters, your friends. That's probably a really strong anchor to keep you going and keep you like with everything and with yourself and motivated to get yourself back to where you want to be.
And there's time like where we can't see those people. It's almost like we've forgotten. Like I'm struggling to remember, like, what the hell did I do? Like, what did I do before this? Because like I said, there's this constant fatigue where I would try and think about what my day-to-day would normally be like. And I'm like, how did I do all that? Because even going to the supermarket right now seems an effort, because I'm in constant fight mode. Like I'm ready for someone to want the cereal that I want and then start huffing and puffing because I'm not going fast enough. Like I'm ready for me to, need to nudge my trolley that way. And like I'm constantly in fight mode and not having that release of, so I've said about the water, but like, I think we get like energies removed like when we have those negative experiences, but then we refill it when we see the family, we go to the gym, but there's not that anymore, and that's been a really difficult one for me mentally, where I've had people reach out to me on Instagram, and this has been quite difficult really, where they've said they just want to give up, they're considering suicide. If it wasn't for their dogs or for their partners, that they wouldn't be here anymore. And that's it doesn't matter all the training that you've had, like trying to respond to someone in a way that you don't know anything about them. So it's not like I can say, oh, well, you really enjoy this, so, do that. And my genuine concern is that I reply, and then a couple of weeks later, someone replies and it's their partner to say that they've passed away. Like, that really concerns me. And I think that we're not talking about that side enough, where there only seems to be one version of events, one story, one thing that's
Corona
acceptable.
deaths, Corona cases are up, NHS is struggling, and we don't really look at, I mean, even so, we see suicides have doubled, or the highest than they've been in decades. Mental health, depression's doubled, and then you've got to look at the other things as well. Like we said before in a little chat, that wealth is linked to health. Businesses are being absolutely damaged, that we touched on earlier. And there's also like things like cancer diagnosis and treatment that's being put off because of Corona regulations, which is absolute madness to me, because you've got a 50% chance of dying from cancer. You've got a 99.8 whatever percent of dying from coronavirus if you're under the age of 60, and even smaller than that, like, and even, a higher chance of surviving if you're under 40 or whatever it is. That is madness. Like, if you're trying to keep people alive and healthy, what are we doing?
Yeah, I think.
What on earth are we doing?
So one of the biggest learning curves that I had when I was with a patient was, it was on my kind of like to-do list that I needed to check a blood sugar. So I was newly qualified and I needed to check a blood sugar. Now, this lady had early stage dementia, and she said no. She was sat up in her bed, she was watching TV, I think she got the remote, and she said no. But you know what? It was on my to-do list. So I was taking that blood sugar. So I went and got a member of the care team to distract her. So he distracted her on one side and was talking to her, and I was on the other side, and I took a blood sugar, which, if ever you've seen it, you kind of like prick on the finger, quick stab, and then I get the machine and attach it and get the blood. And she said, ow! But I'd done it. I'd taken the blood sugar. So I could tick it off my list and I could write it on a notes. And then I was busy. I was really, really busy, and we were short-staffed, because we're always short-staffed and we're always busy. And then I drove home that day and I really reflected on what I'd just done. That lady said no. She said no. And if I hadn't become task-orientated, if I'd used my clinical judgment, and I could be like, right, she's sat up, she's had something to eat and drink, she's talking to me, this lady does not appear unwell. But I wasn't able to do that, because at that time I was super blinkered into like, it's on my list, and you're stopping me from going to my next job because, it's on my list.
Yeah.
And, people can attack me for that, but I'm sure I'm not the only one to do it. As Kanye West says, I might be the first to admit it. But that was really early in my nursing career, and I was completely disgusted with myself because I couldn't believe what I'd done. And I think sometimes we can become very focused, very task orientated, and also be too reliant on a bit of equipment. So I didn't assess her for any ill health. I wanted to know what that number was on the machine. And my concern is that that's kind of what's happening now. I don't work in the hospital. And when I am asking questions, I'm just getting attacked. No one's actually educating me. I'm open to knowing what the answers are, but that's what I think is possibly happening. We're becoming super focused on this one thing. We're super focused on the result of this test, and we're not holistically and clinically using our judgment to assess on a case-by-case basis.
Yeah, because if that woman was like flat in bed, like sleepy, non-responsive, you'd be like, I need to check her blood sugar. It's obviously low. She's whatever. But we're not looking, and there's 100 examples that we could say, like, and going back to the test, even the World Health Organization have come out and said that the test is highly inaccurate, and should be paired with other diagnosis methods. So, okay, you could have pricked that woman's finger and a blood sugar level could have said sound, but if she was asleep or like non-responsive or heart rate was really low, then you'd obviously like intervene, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But we're testing healthy people who aren't showing symptoms, and then we're locking down the country because of it,
And then
using those cases to push an agenda.
And what I listened to the radio the other day was so why can't we isolate the vulnerable? And it's like, oh, that's so impractical. How is it more practical to isolate the whole country than it is just to isolate the vulnerable?
I've also heard that that's discriminatory. So
Yes.
if we make the over 70s isolate, it's the discrimination against over 70s. And about we've destroyed the country's economy 2 or 3 times over, as we're in a depression, not a recession. We're like in a double recession now.
Yeah.
So, and I'm pretty sure my gran, who's 93, she had diabetes for years, smokes 40 a day, would be like, crack on, Tom. Go and do what you want.
Like, who is asking these people? Or are we making decisions? Like, are we making the decisions? Like, is
it's like
it's
like they're saying it's for your protection. I don't want protection. I live my life with an element of risk anyway. I do CrossFit. I've fought in a cage. I've played sports all my life. I've done all sorts of things that people would deem to be unsafe. I knew that anyway, and I did it anyway. There is an element of risk. We could all walk outside and get wiped out by a UPS bus. There should be an element of risk with life, and it should be, I think it should be a choice. I think it should be exactly what you said. Let the vulnerable shield. If you're worried, stay at home, and everybody else should just live their lives.
Yeah. And so I went to the circus in the summer. So I think it was after the first lockdown, and hadn't been out. Tragic story of a 33-year-old in a circus with no children. And I had my mask on and I was feeling quite uncomfortable because, and I've made some notes kind of about, my concerns about mental health and the long-term impact. So I'm there and I'm getting a little bit anxious because I wasn't with my husband, who I've been with 24/7. So from traveling India on my own to being anxious about him not being in the circus with me. And so I'm with my 2 friends and I'm looking around and that scene on Batman Forever where they do the trapeze things and then someone shoots them all. Like, I had this dread of that happening. Like, I don't know where it came from. So I was trying to get over that. And we'd forgot a ticket. So we were just like kneeling, like, I'm quite tall. So I was just like leaning down so I wasn't in people's way. And I kept on looking behind me to see if I was in like the zone, like the viewing point of anyone, so I could move. And I couldn't see that I was. And then this lady came down and she must have been like behind me at the stairs in the dark where I couldn't see. So she came down the stairs and she pushed me 3 times, telling me that she couldn't see, and in the name of social distancing. So I was like, I was so shocked by that because I would never, that's not me. So then I was like, oh God, Ames, I can't believe that just happened. So I'm kind of like trying to like, go down even more and then get the tickets, and the circus guy tells us where to sit. So he pulls these bands off and there are chairs. So I sat down a little bit shocked about what just happened with my little mask on. And there's one seat between me and this stranger. So I sits down, like ready to talk to Amy and Steve about what just happened. And this woman goes, "You're supposed to be 2 seats apart." And I'm like, what? Like, you've just seen the circus, man. Sit me down. You didn't say anything to him. Like, I don't know. So I got my little blue mask and I wriggled into my seat and I fluffed my hair and I put it over my eyes and I just cried at the circus because like, this is just bananas. Like, we are justifying our bad behavior because of COVID or social distancing when actually you're just really rude. Like, that's just not acceptable behavior.
No. It's madness as well. I just think that people are like so willing to want to be seen to be doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think that's so dangerous when it's not even your belief. You're being fed that by BBC. You're being fed what your belief should be by the telly, by the news. You've clearly got an agenda to terrify people.
My one of my mentors when I was a student, she said, I'm never concerned about the student nurses who ask questions. I'm always concerned about the ones who don't, because the ones that don't are overconfident. Like they think too highly of their own ability. So they just go ahead, and that's where mistakes happen. And I don't think that there's enough questioning at all by anyone.
No, it's just all being taken as like, yep, okay. I mean, and don't get me wrong, in the first lockdown in whenever March, and Boris came on Sky and was like, this is what we've got to do, this is coming, this many people are going to die. It was like, okay, let's do it. And I wasn't worried. I was just like, okay, it is what it is, we'll do it. And then I started asking questions and I was like, this is bullshit. This many people aren't dying. This isn't happening. And I asked questions. I didn't go along. I never watched the news anyway. That was the first time I'd watched the news in ages when I watched
Me too,
that.
yeah.
And because it was, and the main thing was because it was business affecting, and the guy who owns the gym that I work at says, this is happening. And it's a discussion that we'd had. But then I asked questions, and I don't know if it's because I've never watched the news. I think I got to a point in my early 20s where I was like, well, this just depresses the shit out of me, so I'm never going to watch it again.
Yeah, me too.
And I'd not watched it since. But then when I have conversations with people who are watching the news and who are aware of this narrative, it's like, I don't know them anymore. It's like they can't think for themselves. And I've had arguments with best friends about it. And I'm like, can you not see what's happening here? And because their lives aren't as affected, because they're still getting 80% from furlough and they hate the jobs and they hate the lives, it's like, well, I'm not that arsed because I'm still getting paid enough. I don't have to go to work, which I hate. And I've nearly completed Netflix. And it's like, they're just accepting, they're acquiescing to the madness because it's comfortable for them.
Yeah, and I think, and our brains are meant to be comfortable. Like we're not meant to take risks. Like if there's any element of risk, our brains like
there's definitely a massive genetic reward for that risk. Like if you exercise, you play a sport, or you do anything like that, you'll know that taking the physical risk gives like a feeling, like an exhilaration. It leads to a memory or an accomplishment or something that you're proud of, or you develop your self-esteem with. Like that's what you get back from it. It's very,
but it changes that experience, doesn't it? So it becomes less risky then. The more reward you get, the more you do it.
Yeah. But like the people who like who never do anything like that, though, I think that they are the real losers in life because they never risked anything, and it's just comfortable and it's easy, and it's just like,
I'm completely impulsive. Like I've really had my wings clipped this year. You know, I'm not materialistic at all. Like I wear t-shirts, like I've got 5 of these. Like I'm not materialistic. Yeah. I'm more kind of experience based, and I love photographs and I love telling stories. And you know, like Christmas, my kind of present is like a cheap EasyJet flight, a rubbish hostel, and let's go and have some fun. Yeah, so I really had my wings clipped this year. And you mentioned about falling out with people. So I wouldn't say I've fallen out with someone. So one of my nurse friends, we've just kind of like stopped talking. Like that's safe to stop talking. And my best friend, she wants the vaccine, that's fine. No, I would listen to her. I would never try and put someone off. Like if that's what they want and they've got all the information, I'm more than happy to listen to them. But I don't want it. And I mentioned that my fears weren't the same as hers. I had different ones around COVID. And she laughed at me. And I think it was a nervous laugh. I don't think it was a mean laugh. I just think it was like, oh, this makes me feel uncomfortable. And she was like, what? Do you think the whole world are in on it? well, I don't know. Like, I honestly don't know. And this was a couple of months ago now. And I think that's a real shame, because I'm really not sure whether we'll be able to connect again. And that makes me really sad, because it's not about having a difference of opinion. It's about being laughed at for being scared about something that's different than what you're scared of. That's been my experience with friends.
It's like a defining line that's been drawn between you, isn't it? Like, I feel this way. Like, you'd be like, from your point of view, you'd be like, okay, Dave, you want the vaccine, not asked, do what you want. Whereas from the other way around, they're like, wow, you don't want it. You don't want that. Like, and they judge you for it. And I believe, like, it should always be a personal choice. Taking crack is a personal choice. Doing exercise is a personal choice. Like, people should be able to do whatever they want to do with their own lives.
Yeah.
But I think it's dangerous when we get to the point where people have a very strong opinion on what you should be doing with your life when it concerns your own health. It's like, I can't just walk up to people who are overweight in Tesco and say, you need to come to me, you need to come with me to the gym. Can't say that. You know what I mean? And I could probably suggest it, but people know that being fat is unhealthy. So it's like, the information's there for them. Whereas the information that we have with things like this vaccine is a bit different, and it's selected, censored.
Yeah. And that's, even in the I've stopped watching them now, but the like the government announcements, I can't remember when it was, but where they had the chart of like all the hospitals, and they were like all in red. And actually, if they'd showed us all the rest of them, like, and we had more context of that, we're not actually doing that bad. And no. I think it was in Cornwall, the last time I read, was that one person had died. I'll need to fact check that, and I'll need to keep it up to date. But my point being is that we've closed a whole country down for something that we allegedly don't know anything about right now, a year on. Yeah. So we don't know about the transmissibility, how transmissible the new variant is. We don't know about the new variant. We don't know about the vaccine. We don't know how the sports stars are staying alive, but people can't go to the gym. We don't know how the TV presenters' hairdressers.
I don't know about. We work hard in the gym and we get sweaty and everything like that. But I've never sliding tackled anyone in the gym. Or rugby, do you know what I mean? I've never hugged loads of people and celebrated in the gym.
As long as you're socially distanced for national anthem.
It's just what a load of shite. It's an absolute load of shite. Sport is just like something to keep us gawping at the telly. It's just a distraction.
Yeah, and it's like the Gladiators. The Romans knew it too.
Keep the what is? Have you seen Gladiator? Win the crowd, and you win your freedom. Like, it's just like keep the mob happy, isn't it? Like, keep them distracted, keep us busy watching shit that isn't important. When really, what's important is turning off the telly, getting fit, getting healthy, connecting with people, and living your life as best as you want to. As you want to, not even as best as it could, not even ideally. Live it how you want to live it. And I think that that's what's really been taken from us in this lockdown situation: the freedom of choice, the freedom to live life how we want, and the freedom of taking a risk.
And if you ask any questions, you're a conspiracy theorist. Like, that's it. Just like, I'll tar you with that brush. I'm not going to listen to what you say, because by putting you in that box, it makes me feel safe.
Oh, it's like, I've got friends who are nurses who are terrified to speak out. But I do know a few things. Like, I've heard a few things from them. Like, one of them the other day told me that the friend had the vaccine and got Bell's palsy, and that's like someone, like 100% facts. They've seen someone get Bell's palsy within 2 or 3 hours of having the vaccine, and I've seen that. I've heard that quite a lot. Obviously, it's just getting whack-a-mole from the internet, but there's side effects. Mm-hmm. I do know that 50% of this woman's friends who are nurses have all refused the vaccine, which is obviously, again, like something that's not put in the media. It's not common knowledge. Everybody thinks that if you work for the NHS, you have to have it or you can't work. That is literally what people think. Even people who work there, they believe that. And it's like I don't know if it's like a bully mentality sort of thing, a bully culture. But
if you think about, I don't know whether you've seen the minutes from one of the SAGE meetings where they were talking about coercion, persuasion, and emotional messaging.
I've seen that, yeah.
So it's just like it's that, isn't it? And I think so. I've done a post on Instagram about who gets a gold star. Is it the child that asks the questions, or is it the child that knows the answers? And it's the child that knows the answers. And I think it's almost like trained out of us that if we ask questions, we become the problem.
Yeah, because they don't want that. They don't want, and I say they, and it sounds very conspiracy theorist, doesn't it? To be like they, the bad guys, yeah, the mwahaha guys. But it's just anything that speaks out against the narrative, the government, the media narrative, what Boris Johnson's pushing when he comes on and he's apologising that people have died. People die. But as far as we can see, like as far as we know from the official online statistics, national statistics, the deaths aren't there.
No, I mean, I've been in many shitty relationships and I have been extremely manipulated over the years. So because I've done a lot of work on myself, had counselling, and would highly recommend dipping your toe into that if you need some support. I use a lot of complementary therapies, massage, and I think that's really important. So I've done a lot of work on myself, and this to me just strikes me as manipulation. They're not giving us a context or perspective, so they're not letting us know what the average death rate is. They're just letting us know. And because we're a nation where we don't really talk about death, it's shocking. And I don't know whether you saw the Matt Hancock did a interview and he was like, don't go out this weekend. This weekend, don't go out. This weekend,
he was out.
Stay in. And then Kel Saprice, he's spotted this weekend not wearing a mask. And he walks past this woman, I think it was a female, who's like got the phone. And she says, it might be a male, but I'm sure it's a woman. Oh, you're dirty or something like that. I'm playing rugby. And then he walks back just to make sure he's been on camera. Now, you're telling me, a park full of people, that is the only thing that you're going to say to Matt Hancock? I don't believe it. But anyway, let's put that aside. So then he's telling us to stay in this weekend. This weekend, he's spotted out with no mask. And then the following week, he's pinged positive, track and trace. He's been in the area. Yeah. So he has to self-isolate. That to me screams staged. If he didn't want that picture in the news, it wouldn't be in the news.
Yeah. There's a few things that look like they're staged and scripted. Just watch the news. Everybody, every time it pops up, this many deaths, and then underneath in little writing, 28 days following a positive test, which means absolutely nothing. I know people who have died, who are in their 80s, 90s, who've died of diabetes, old age, pneumonia, and it's all put down to COVID deaths. I've had people in the NHS tell me that they don't have to perform an autopsy if they put it down as a COVID death. That's not me saying that. That is this what I've been told from NHS professionals, paramedics, doctors, nurses, and from a friend whose mum died of diabetes, but put down as COVID. He was 84. If they put COVID down as the death, they would get a body back in 3 days. If they didn't, they wouldn't get the body for 2 weeks.
That's twisting someone's arm, isn't it? You've got the
arm. What would you do if it was your mum and you were heartbroken?
Yeah.
And it's easy, isn't it? It's an easy win. And this isn't me making this up. This is what I've been told by friends and NHS professionals who I know. It's not good though. It's not good, and it's we definitely live in a crazy time, and I do think that in years, 50, 100 years, 200 years, we will look back on this as a very, very odd time, dark time in history.
Yeah, I keep on saying to Rob, like, oh my God, I can't wait to read this inquest. Like I can't wait to read the history books. In fact, I said that today on the way here. Like I cannot wait till we are looking back on this, because living in it is the strangest thing. Like I forget sometimes, and then I remember, and it's like, oh.
When you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh fuck, I'm living in this. You know, like when you forget that, like, you've had an argument with your partner, or you've done something shit at work, and then you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh fuck, it wasn't a bad dream, it was real. But yeah, and you know, like, to sound even more like a conspiracy fucking theorist, who writes history? What will history say? Like, will history say what's happening now, or will it be like an embellished, glossed over version where, you know, 500,000 people all died from this respiratory illness, and it was like the T virus from Resident Evil, and people were in the streets, there were bodies everywhere, you know, like it was like China, people dying at the steering wheel and slamming into lampposts and such. But we don't know. We don't know what it's going to be like. I really do hope that this chat gets people thinking. It's not meant to attack anyone. We you know, you and I both massively appreciate the healthcare service. I would love to get to a point where, as a personal trainer, as a coach, as a CrossFit coach, as a fitness professional, I could work with these people, because if we worked together, we could prevent so many people going into hospital for preventable things. I hope it gets people thinking. I hope it makes people look at themselves as well and start to love themselves. Like, start looking at your self-respect. Have you got any? If not, start building some, start earning some, because you are worth more than you think.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, having to introduce yourself now. So when you have discussions like this, you know, having to introduce yourself is, I'm not an anti-vaxxer, I'm not a conspiracy theorist, I do care about old people.
Yeah.
And
every death is tragic, but
yeah, I feel the list is getting longer of why I need to justify why I'm asking questions. And I think that, yeah, it would be really interesting, you know, what happens after this. There's the announcement on the 22nd, so in a couple of weeks' time. And, you know, you were saying about history then. If you go into a high school in the UK and they're talking about the World Wars, but then you go to I don't know what they're called, but the high school in America and talk about the World Wars, you will get a different story. And I think, yeah, it's really interesting about how accurate will it be based on our lived experience.
Yeah. I really, really appreciate your time, Jenna. Let's definitely do this again. It'd probably be a really good idea to do it after the announcement on the 22nd, see where we're at.
Yes.
Thank you very much. And I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thanks for listening, guys.
Thank you very much.